All right. Just want to make a follow up here, So, whatever. The Cavs won. I was wrong. I thought the Warriors would win, but no big deal. You know what? Anybody who comes on here and says that I'm an idiot or something, they need to go back and actually really watch what I was saying in these videos. I showed a ton of coding for the Cavaliers and also the Warriors. A lot of the stuff was pointing to a Cavs Warriors rematch. I talked about the back-to-back championship stuff, but it really truly was a back-to-back championship, right? It was the Cavs versus the Warriors. But moral of the story, I predicted a whole bunch of stuff right. I've also predicted things wrong. If you go back and watch my previous videos, in almost every one of them, I talk about how I'm trying to figure out exactly why I was right and why I was wrong. So I could care less about who wins. I'm trying to figure out what these stories, what the purpose of coding these stories like the Royal theme, the back-to-back theme, there's even the X theme. I'm trying to figure it out exactly how it's being done and how it's being done every single time. So I want to go back and recap a little bit on a lot of the things that I showed for the Cavs. And, so anybody who watches this, if they start to do what I'm doing, they can learn from what I'm showing them, and it can better them in their next prediction. And it's not about sports. I'm telling you, tonight's a full moon or whatever. We go figure. Prince also died on the night of a full moon. One of the big things that I had talked about all season was about how LeBron James shot 9 of 23 this year on November 14th. I wasn't for sure all year if the 923 was actually good for the Cavs or if it was just good for the Warriors. And the reason I mentioned it was because last year in the NBA season when the Warriors won, Steph Curry shot 9 of 23 for the first time ever in his career, and he did it against the Chicago Bulls. And it just so happened to be on January 27th. That was also the last home game that they had lost until they lost to the Celtics this year in their streak or whatever. So their last home game that they lost was to the Bulls, and then they broke the Bulls' home game win streak this year. But during that game, Steph Curry shot 9 of 23. It was also 239 days before 923. He also did it again 4 days later on January 31st, 131. Right? The word championship equals 131. Prince Charles equals 131. Or it could also be 31 and 1, like a lot like 311. There's a whole bunch of 113 and 311 around Steph Curry. Even in the finals after Game 7, the Warriors finished their postseason at home 11 and 3, a lot like the 113. Steph Curry wears number 30. 30 is the 100, or 113 is the 30th prime number. Michael Jordan equals 113. Kobe Bryant equals 113. They picked up Anderson Varejao on 222, which was 3 months, 11 days before the finals this year. Varejao was dropped by the Blazers. He started wearing number 18 for the Warriors. 18 days later, the Warriors played the Blazers again, which was also on 3/11, March 11th. Tons of other stuff with it. Just wanted to prove a point here. So anyway, Steph Curry shot 9 of 23 against the Bulls. He did it again on the first game of their home win streak. And he also did it again on 2/11 against the Timberwolves. And the Timberwolves super coded into a whole bunch of stuff. I talked about the movie Teen Wolf and how it ties into the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Tyronn Lue, even a former Nebraska Cornhusker. But in that game, he did it 113 days before the finals last year. Klay Thompson also just so happened to shoot 9 of 23 last year on December 5th of 2014, just so happened to also be against the Chicago Bulls. I talked about this year, David Blatt, the original coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, he lost to the Chicago Bulls on the first game of the season. And then when Tyronn Lue took over, the Cavaliers lost the first game of the season with him as the coach to the Chicago Bulls. But anyway, moral of the story. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, no Warrior this year shot 9 of 23 at all this season. Not one Warrior. It rarely even happened. There might have been a few more towards the end of the season. I made a video on how only 8 players in the NBA all season had shot 9 of 23. We'll check it out really quick, see when I posted it. March 16th was when I posted that. So there might have been a few more. But still interesting, 8 players shot 9 of 23. It's pretty rare. This year, LeBron James shot 9 of 23 2 times. And Kyrie Irving also shot 9 of 23 exactly 146 days after the first time that LeBron James shot 9 of 23. And if you watched Game 7 tonight, they even told us that it's been 146 seasons since Cleveland has won a sports championship. They even won the championship in Oakland, California that equals 146. Also, with the new coach, Tyronn Lue, but they fired David Michael Blatt that equals 146. 146, a number that's connected to Philadelphia. Even Allen Iverson equals 146. Larry Brown equals 146. In February, we got a story about John Calipari getting ejected from a game after 146 seconds. He even used to be the assistant coach when Allen Iverson played in Philadelphia and whatnot. There was even, on that same day, there was a pileup in Philadelphia on I-78. Cleveland Cavaliers, the small way, equals 69 and also 78. But moral of the story, Philadelphia has been a place of super interest. Last year, we talked about how it was connected to the Golden State Warriors because they're originally from Philadelphia, and Philadelphia comes from the book of Revelation, a book of prophecy. If you watch the game tonight when LeBron hurts his wrist, they stop the clock at 10.6 even. I should have took some screenshots. I'm winging this video right now. But the word prophecy equals 106. In regards to Michael Jordan and also Philadelphia, the capital of the country, Jordan, used to be called Philadelphia, and then it was later destroyed by earthquakes in the year 106 AD. But of course, Philadelphia is also where the Fresh Prince is from. There's literally all types of royalty coding around the Cleveland Cavaliers. They were followers of King Charles I in the English Civil War. They have King James, right? King James was King Charles's dad. Game 7 was even on what would have been King James's 450th birthday. In Gematria, Cleveland Cavaliers equals 168. Queen Elizabeth II equals 168. If she dies, Prince Charles will become King Charles III. So, King Charles I was executed in the year 1649 during the English Civil War. So my thinking in regards to the stories was that, the Cavaliers, being followers of him, wouldn't win. But also, when you think about it, if you go back to last year, the Warriors did win in the year 16, or, Warriors equals 49, Revelation equals 49. So the Warriors won last year. This year, the English Civil War came to an end in 1651, but it was with the banishment of King Charles II, but then he also later came back to re-rule or whatever. But the point I'm getting is that the English Civil War came to an end in the year 1651. Cleveland equals 51. Cleveland Cavs equals 51. LeBron James equals 51. They play in Quicken Loans. Quicken Loans equals 51. They also hadn't won a sports championship in 51 years in the city of Cleveland. So interesting that the English Civil War comes to an end in the year 1651. And after King Charles II, another one of King Charles I's sons becomes the king. It's King James II. So just kind of interesting in regards to LeBron winning. He's sort of like King James III. So, moral of the story, the 923 turned out to be actually good for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I even talked about, LeBron James and gematria even equals 923. He shot 9 of 23 on November 4th. His name in civil gematria equals 114, a lot like November 4th. One other thing I never pointed out, so last year, the NBA Finals, and I have pointed this out, but it was connected to the train wreck in Philadelphia that happened at 9:23 p.m. LeBron James was in the movie Trainwreck. If you write out the word train wreck, it equals 122. If my internet will go here. If you write out the word train wreck, 122. If you write out Pope Francis, also 122. Kansas City equals 122. Golden State equals 122, right? They both won the championships last year. LeBron James is in the movie Trainwreck, where Amy Schumer's character is 9 years old in the beginning. The rest of the movie takes place 23 years later. Pope Francis came to America on his 923rd day as Pope. He went to the White House the next day at 9:23 on 9:23. A lot of people talking about the end of the world and all kinds of stuff like that. I just knew that it would be a significant day. Anyway, if you go from 9:23 of last year and you go to the day that LeBron first shot 9 of 23 this year, it was a span of 1 month and 12 days, also 42 days. LeBron James, the small way equals 42. But if you watched my previous video and a ton of other previous videos, I talked about this number 112 around the death of Prince, who died on Queen Elizabeth's 90th birthday. Also, the 112th day of the year. The Simpsons even killed Prince on 11/2. I talked about how there was a moon theme. They also killed George Clooney. I talked about the movie Gravity. Also, they killed Neil Armstrong, the first guy to walk on the moon. Prince died at the age of 57. Moon equals 57. He died on the night of a full moon, just like tonight is a night of a full moon. The Warriors have lost tons of games around Prince, and this 112 was just really bad to them. They even lost to the Rockets on the day that Prince died, which was the same, Houston equals 112. Steph Curry injured his ankle in that game when the score was 56-56. If you total that up, 112. Steph Curry's real name, Stephen Wardell Curry the second or third, I can't remember what it is. It equals 112. Andre Iguodala had passed him the ball. Andre Iguodala had fell down as well. Or actually, Andre Iguodala had made the basket, making it 56-56, and he fell down when the clock was at 4.4, and then Curry fell or whatever. And Andre Iguodala equals 112 in gematria. NBA or Finals MVP equals 112. I talked about Magic Johnson talking about how the Showtime Lakers were better than the Warriors. Showtime equals 112. So, for further reference, 112, to me, maybe it will change next year. I'm going to watch it again next year. That's the whole purpose of all of this. 112 seems to be a very bad number for the Golden State Warriors. But the whole purpose is actually knowing this now. So then the next time I'm trying to figure out what the coding is, I'm going to have a better understanding of what is going on. Instead of just doing a few things and saying, oh, that connects and that connects, I tried to look as deep as I could to figure out exactly how it is being done. Even if you go to Game 7 tonight and you look at the total score, 182, a number I also talked about a whole lot this year, because if you write out the word back-to-back, and there was just a huge back-to-back theme, I'm not going to go fully into it again. I have a ton of videos on it. Back-to-back equals 182. It also equals 69. Cleveland Cavaliers, the small way, equals 69. So there was this huge deception that they were programming people with, and that's why I stuck on the Warriors, because I wasn't sure if it was just programming people to believe there was going to be back-to-back, subliminally programming, or if it actually was going to fit the numbers. Obviously, it fit the numbers. So next time I can hear a blatant theme that they're putting in people's brains, I know they're programming people with it. Next time, I'm going to think, hey, remember this time when the Cavaliers actually won, even though it seemed like the Warriors should win, right? Maybe the next time we'll be wrong, and maybe the next time after that we'll be wrong. But I just want to see if there's any patterns and see how it continually goes. It has to be a work in progress over time because, I don't remember a lot of this from years prior, I didn't know all of this information in years prior, and I can't go back and watch old like games and watch old whatever, old programming things that they have done to us, I mean, there's some things you can do movies and whatnot, but I can't go back and watch every commercial and remember what commercial was on and when, is the whole point I'm saying. So it's a work in progress. I'm trying to figure it all out. We'll check it out. I'm sure there's some type of theme they're going to try to program us with in the World Series this year, or also maybe even the Olympics. So we'll look at the theme, we'll look at some of the numbers, and we'll try to just figure out if there's any pattern in regards to this. Anyway, another thing with the 923, and like I'm saying, I hammered on this all year. I just did not think that the 923 was a good thing for the Cavs. I just wasn't for sure. That's why I never once said, I don't think the Cavs are going to win at all. It's like my pick was just the Warriors, just because I made a pick. And like I said, I regretted even making a pick because it really doesn't matter. That's not the point of this. The point of it is, all of it is coded, and I'm trying to prove that fact and perfect it. A lot of people that got something right this time, they're going to get it wrong. And then they're going to say, why was it wrong? And that's already happened to me. I got multiple things right in a row, and then I started getting things wrong. So people don't need to get a big head. I wasn't going to get a big head if the Warriors won. It wouldn't have mattered. I was going to come on here and say, interesting, this is some of the things I've shown, and this is why I think they won, and let's move on from here, There's no point in getting a big head over it, when especially none of it matters. But moral of the story, this 923 just was pounded all year. Jason Richardson, a former back-to-back slam dunk contest winner, 1 of 4 right. There was Nate Robinson, the guy who was trying out for the Seahawks. Also Michael Jordan, Zach LaVine, who won it last year again, and then this guy. Anyway, his Wikipedia picture shows him in an Orlando jersey. Just reminds me of all the stuff in Orlando this year. I even talked about the death of John Hot Rod Williams clear back in December, which ironically was even on my sister's 29th birthday. Ohio equals 29 and whatnot. But I seen on Zach's blog somebody posting about that death again the other day, and the Cavaliers even played the Orlando Magic and beat them like 111 to 76 or something like that. But anyway, just moral of the story, they sacrifice people for the championships and whatnot. Guarantee now that guy was a sacrifice for the finals. But there were some things in regards to him, I can't remember what it all was, but there were some things that made me think that the Warriors were going to win or something. I really can't remember. I'll have to go back and look, but I mean, literally, he's even, just looking at it again right now, he was even born on August 9th. If you watch the Game 7 tonight, it was a total tribute to King James. In Gematria, King James equals 89. Just like the word religion, today was the original King James birthday, and then King James wins. The score was stuck on 89 for a very long time at the end of the fourth quarter. LeBron James was even the one who scored the 89th point. Because, oddly enough, Tyronn Lue takes out Kyrie Irving and whatnot, and the announcers go, why would they take them guys out? I think it was Tristan Thompson and Kyrie Irving, you know? The announcers like, why would they take them out? And then the Warriors made a big run, or whatever. And then later on in the game, when LeBron scored this 89th point, Festus Ezeli was back in the game, who was completely throwing the game. There's no way. That guy was sucking so bad. He sucked in a ton of games. And even the announcers were like, why would they put him back in? That doesn't make any sense. Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? It's just so obvious. Even without numbers, it is so ridiculously obvious. I mean, Festus Ezeli, number 31, I talked about him a whole lot in regards to Anderson Varejao, who was picked up by the Warriors from the Cavs, or the Cavs had traded Anderson Varejao, after playing 31 games for the Cavs. And then the Warriors ended up picking him up to replace Festus Ezeli, number 31. Festus Ezeli misses 31 games and comes back on the same day as the Chester Amtrak derailment that just so happened to be train number 89. It all makes sense when you look back on it, and that's why I'm presenting this information. Anyway, I apologize. There's just, like I said, there's so much information to re-talk about. Jason Richardson, though, announced his retirement the same day that Pope Francis went to the White House at 9/23 on 9/23. He announced his retirement that day. His name in gematria just so happens to equal the same thing as Cleveland Cavaliers. Jason Richardson. His full name equals 108, just like Golden State Warriors. But it's not so much of a great connection as it is with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Also in regards to the 9/23, or also the 146, I talked about Philadelphia 76er Elton Brand coming back out of retirement. He announced his retirement on the same day that Flip Saunders announced his cancer. It was the 223rd day of the year. Flip Saunders even born on February 23rd, 2/23. The first game of the season was the Lakers versus the Warriors. It was a tribute, or Lakers versus the Timberwolves, and the total score was 223. The whole game was a tribute to Flip Saunders and whatnot. There's more than that. Masonic equals 223. Friday the 13th, like the Paris attacks happened on Friday the 13th, equals 223. The Synagogue of Satan equals 223. Anyway, Elton Brand announces his retirement on this day. Just so happens to be 146 days before the Warriors, I'm getting so mixed up. 146 days before the Cavaliers defeated Toronto on January 4th. But of course, Toronto, home of Drake, who has the song Back to Back. This is also where the All-Star Week happened, where Russell Westbrook won back-to-back All-Star Game MVPs, where Zach LaVine won back-to-back slam dunk contests. There was a huge back-to-back theme going on. The Cavs even defeated Toronto to get into the finals. But in that game, after the Cavs had won, it made their record 23-9, a lot like the 9/23 or the 239. We're in the 239th year of the United States. Also in England, they write this date as 4/1, a lot like 41. King equals 41. In the finals, Kyrie and LeBron both scored 41 points in the same game. LeBron gets back-to-back 41-point games. But the reason that I had thought it was a bad game, or a bad thing for the Cavaliers, is because the total score for one was 222 points. Like the word Amtrak, I thought maybe it was still connected to the Philadelphia train wreck. There was also a Kansas train wreck this year that seemed to be really connected to the Warriors. But Golden State also equals 122, just like Pope Francis. Maybe this 122 for some reason had nothing to do with Golden State. Maybe it was only just a tribute to Pope Francis, considering their record became 23-9. So something to think about. And just in regards to Elton Brand, I want to reiterate the fact LeBron shot 9 of 23, then Kyrie Irving shot 9 of 23 146 days later this year. And last year, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson both shot 9 of 23 for the first times in their career. They both even did it against the Chicago Bulls. Kyrie Irving did do it last year as well, one time. I think it was one time, but he did it against the Golden State Warriors. LeBron James didn't play. And every time that Kyrie Irving has shot 9 of 23, LeBron James has not played in the game. If you write out in Gematria, if you write out LeBron James didn't play, it equals 219, just like if you write out back-to-back championships. So it kind of throws you off. I talked a lot about how the Warriors in Game 1 of the finals scored 104 points. It was 104 days after the Warriors lost on February 19th, a lot like 219. That number also, though, I showed a whole bunch of other connections to it in regards to the 87 and Queen Elizabeth, also Pope Francis. So interesting that back-to-back championships would equal 219 and the Warriors didn't win back-to-back championships. But technically there was back-to-back championships because they played the Cleveland Cavaliers again. And back-to-back championships doesn't necessarily say who is the winner or whatever. But I just want to point this game out again really quick because it really does make more sense as you look back on it. But at the time, I just wasn't sure. Last year in the NBA Finals, the Game 1 went to overtime 98-98, and it was 98 days after the Cleveland Cavaliers had defeated the Warriors. And this year, the Warriors lost on 2/19, 104 days before the finals that they won with 104 points. So even though they lost on this day, I thought maybe it's still a good day for them. Obviously, it wasn't, but in this game, just want to show the box score. I talked about all the 51 stuff in regards to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Damian Lillard went off and scored 51 points in this game against the Warriors, and they lost big time. They lost by 33 points, usually a number of sacrifice. Cleveland equals 33. They were the first team in 33 seasons to come back from a 3-1 or whatever. That's why it's so interesting that Festus Ezeli got put back in the game there at the end when LeBron scored the 89th point. But, just looking back at it, it obviously was a tribute to LeBron. I mean, the Warriors even stayed on 48 wins. James in Gematria equals 48. The total score, 242. LeBron James, a small way, equals 42. 242, a lot like the mirrors, 24, 42. I forgot to mention another thing about the game on January 4th and the whole back-to-back stuff, too. If you go from 9/23 to January 4th, a span of 103 days, a number I've seen all over the Cavs this year, LeBron James even shot 9 of 23 the second time this season on 2-5 against the Boston Celtics. The Celtics won 104-103, right? So, and if LeBron would have lost in the finals tonight, he would have been 2-5, and instead he's 3-4. So you can see how I would think, hey, maybe it's connected to that, The Golden State Warriors connected to the 104, the Cavs connected to the 103. But also, they won tonight. The Cavs won Game 7. It was their 103rd game of the season. So, obviously, even though they lost on 2-5, it was still good for them to lose on 2-5. In regards to the 34, the Cavs lost to the Warriors by 34 points on January 18th. It was also 34 days after LeBron James shot 9 of 23, or 34 Cavs games after he shot 9 of 23. So if you go from that game to Game 7, a span of 5 months, 1 day, right? Cleveland equals 51, Cleveland Cavs 51, LeBron James 51, Quicken Loans 51. They hadn't won a sports championship in 51 years. The the Warriors scored 132 points in this game, 132 to 98, right? Cleveland just became the first team in 33 years to come back 3 games to 1 or whatever. So now it's 1 in 32 even. And there's definitely more connections. 132 is a number you often see with 51 even. I mean, I just thought maybe somehow 132 might have been the good number and 51 was more like the kill number. There was lots of death stuff around the number 51. Antonin Scalia, you know, the judge who died, his name equals 132 the big way, and also 51 the small way. Right? 132, if you write it as a date, like in Europe, it would be 13/2. That's the same day that he died, February 13th, the 44th day of the season, or 44th day of the year. The date numerology, even 2 plus 13 plus 20 plus 15, it also equals 51, or plus 16, I mean, equals 51. That same day, we got an earthquake in Oklahoma that was a 5.1. I mean, what are the odds of that? You know, the one thing that really gets me about Cleveland winning is all of these connections to the 219, though. You know, I could go back and re-show it all. I'm getting tired. There's so much. I need to go back and re-look at it and rethink about it. I'm gonna leave a whole bunch of links in the description, and I'll leave a link to my blog even. Not everything that I talk about's in my blog. That's why, you know, I don't want to say go check out all my blog, because a lot of times I use my blog a little. I mean, I use it, but then I also build off of it as well as I'm going along. So I'll leave a whole bunch of different videos to check out. The whole season, I was talking about how it seemed to be coded to both teams. So it was a very difficult thing for me to decide on who was the winner. It seemed like last year was so much easier when I knew less information. So, I mean, I don't know if getting too far into it is actually making it worse or better, you know. But that's the whole point. I wanted to really get in deep and figure out what is really going on. But I definitely have to go to bed. I'm going to leave, like I said, I'll leave a bunch of links you can check out if you're new or whatever. I have a ton of information. It's just absolutely too much to go back over. But interesting, the Cavs won. I'm going to dream about all the old information and try to put it all together in my head and build off of it for the next championship and the next rigged whatever, you know? But yeah, anyway, have a good night.